Hi, Connor.
Hi, Trenton.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
yeah. We watched The Matrix today.
We did. It was a very nice movie. Welcome to Switching Rails.
Yes. This is your host, Trenton.
This is your host, Connor.
Yep.
That only works if you can see the video.
Yeah, that's fair. That's completely fair. So
Matrix,
yeah, it's a kind of
the best Shia LaBeouf film that I've ever seen.
Shia LaBeouf is not in this film. My word. Okay. So we usually start with recommendations.
Yeah, let's go start with recommendations.
This one's a difficult one for me to pick out a recommendation for.
Okay.
Partially because I don't know a lot of people who haven't seen it. But that was true of Star Wars.
Exactly.
But for whatever reason,
I
I
there's
find
actually
this
more probably that haven't seen The Matrix than one of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I'm so like I feel like that's not a good excuse, but also like I don't know who I would recommend this to necessarily.
It's like a combination of Inception, which you've already seen because you've already gotten this far in the podcast, and
Or you skipped that episode.
or you skipped that episode, and like there's other like really good like just action combat-y movies, and I can't think of one.
I can think of some, but I would say they pulled from this movie and have become their own thing
There's
since.
nothing before 1999 that had good combat.
Well, no, there were things. It's just,
I feel like some of the Jackie Chan movies.
oh yeah,
I'm gonna go
but
Inception and Jackie Chan movie. It's
Okay.
a cross between those two. So if you like action and combat with a pretty compelling
so
storyline,
I will bring up, if we're going to talk about Jackie Chan movies.
Yes.
Jackie Chan had a large emphasis on comedy inside combat,
That's true.
which this one does not have
It
as
has
much.
one moment
Yes.
of comedy and combat, and that's it. Well, maybe like 3 or 4 actually.
Yeah, I mean there are a
It's a
few,
couple.
but it's not like Jackie Chan where you're just watching a fight and just laughing your ass off the whole time.
I love Jackie Chan movies, but there's little.
Yeah,
And there's some seriousness
Yeah.
from Inception, so that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I would consider this a good entry point if you're looking for any, like, sort of mind-bendy action movies. If you've never seen one
Absolutely.
and you're like, I just want to watch one for the first time, this is a great place to start.
This is a great starter for the mind-bendy, like, world-buildy, sort of, like, near sci. That's not like it's exceptionally near
yeah.
sci-fi, but like it's some cool technology and there's a cool twist on it. I think it's really cool. Yeah, it's a really good point.
I think that may be the longest we've ever spent in a recommendation section.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, does it deserve its place on the list? I think this is
18?
I thought
17.
last week was 18.
I don't know.
So-
It's above 20.
It's about 20.
Yeah.
We're still in the top 20. It's like 19 or 16 or 17 or 18.
It's after 15, before 20. We're somewhere in
exactly, somewhere in there.
there. You want to go first?
Oh yeah, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I do think so far it deserves its place on the list. Like
Okay.
it's the CG. Some of it is a little,
Yeah.
but I really like the story. I like the balance between world building and action.
Mhm.
I feel like as a kid, again, I'm more sentimental, so that could be boosting my rating here. But like as a kid, I remember watching the character. There is death in this movie, so if that's a turnoff, then sorry.
I feel like the moment you say it's an action movie, though, you kind of
Assume death. Whenever you see some of the characters die, you like feel for them. You're like, oh, okay. I think you said 6 words, but I felt for you when you died. So I think that generally, I do think it deserves where it is.
Okay. I'm going to have the controversial opinion here.
Okay.
I don't think it should.
Not even on the list.
I think it might deserve a place on the list.
It's better than Iron Giant.
Ooh, no.
Yeah.
I
no?
also just think Iron Giant needs to be higher on the list.
I feel like it should be top 100. It's such a good movie.
But we're not even close to Iron Giant yet, so we're not talking about it yet.
No.
So here's the thing. I'm going to defend it a little bit here and
Perfect.
say, what this movie set up was like a great foundation.
Such a good foundation.
But as of today in 2023, when we're recording this, I can't say that it holds up to some of the other things that have been done from its legacy, right? Like, it's not even on the list, but both of the Raid movies, absolutely phenomenal action films, and I think they do action scenes better than any of the scenes in this movie. And that's really, really impressive. I don't think it would have happened without this, but I also think that this has been surpassed in the years that it's been out, and I don't think it should be, at the very least, this high on the list.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like I don't agree because Godfather's so high on this list.
Well, fair enough.
There's the part of the fact that the IMDb top 250 is what it is.
Yeah.
Is the fact that the ones that started things are so high on the list.
Yeah.
Like they kicked off all of the different things that we know and love today that we take for granted. So I feel like
that's true.
That's part of why I'm like, no, this wasn't seen very often up to this point.
Well, yeah, and I'm not arguing that it was. I think, and there is something to be said for a film that does all of the things that it did as well as it did first.
Yes. First mover advantage is why it's so high on the list.
When we get down to Citizen Kane, I'm going to tear that movie apart because of this very thing. Like,
nice.
This is not exclusive to The Matrix for me.
That is true. Yeah, this has been a pretty common opinion for you in a lot of different movies, except for The Godfather.
Well, I honestly think that The Godfather just does character so well like, I think that movie holds up today. This one, I think, doesn't hold up as well, and that's probably my biggest issue with it.
That makes sense.
When I saw it in middle school, it was the coolest thing that I had ever seen.
I was 4 when it came out, so
yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch it when it came out. No. Considering I would have been 2,
yeah,
it's probably a wise decision for my parents to have made.
Correct.
But yeah, I think watching it now, I go, yeah, I don't think it's a bad movie by any means. I think it's a great movie that has been surpassed.
Awesome. Let's go and talk about our ratings then.
Enjoyment, this is still probably going to be like a 7 from me, maybe a 6.
Valid.
Strong 6 to a light 7. And technical, it's so difficult because I feel like there's such a wide spread on what it did technically, both good and bad.
Totally.
Right? Like the CG is pulling it way down for me. The amount of like practical effects that they did and just crazy cool stunts.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very high.
Choreography was gorgeous.
Yeah, choreography was absolutely spectacular. The story, thought it was relatively weak. World building, relatively good. And it's like these things are so close together for me.
Yeah, that's valid.
That I just have a really hard time. I'm going to give it a solid 5. Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. There you go. We found the critic, Connor, on this one. I see. Hello.
Yeah.
Haven't seen you in a while. How you liking it up here?
Yes, you have. It just hasn't been on the podcast.
That's true. Cool. So for me, I feel like my enjoyment's a solid 8, 8.5. There's not really down points in my endorphin levels while watching this movie.
Okay.
You know,
enough.
like I'm pretty happy watching it all the way through. Similar, I feel like I'm going to rate technical on this one based off of the, what was that one that we mentioned that they added just a little bit of CG? It was Fight Club. They added just a small bit of CG and it destroys that part of the movie because it just breaks you out of immersion. I don't think this does that for me, actually. I feel like a lot of the CG that's here, except for the bouncing door when the explosion in the elevator happens, is actually fairly well done.
So I was actually reminded of Fight Club with the bouncing door.
Yeah, it was.
And honestly, there's something so charming about that to me, and I
It was
don't know
really
what it
cute,
is.
though.
So, like,
it just bounces too many times.
and I think that's even, we didn't talk about this in Fight Club, I don't think, but like, I think that's even a thing for me in that movie where it just, like, the weird kind of CG just adds to the charm for me.
It's a very,
And
very good point.
it gives it a certain feel that I love in my movies.
Absolutely.
But the things that really bother me are like the
not too much. Yeah, we haven't crossed the spoiler boundary yet. We'll go and talk more about the CG we do and don't like in a second.
The machines towards the end.
Really, I loved the machines towards the end.
I love their design. I hate the way that they're executed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I so can't wait to talk about that. That's so good. Okay, well then let's get past this. Go into spoilers. We are in spoiler territory.
All right.
We walked into the spoiler forest.
Like if you like, and subscribe if you don't.
Sudden jump in our subscriber count after this episode. Thanks, Connor. Appreciate it. I mean, he got us what we needed, so that's nice. Yes, please go like, comment, subscribe. Find it on a podcast catcher of your choice. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, summary of movie.
Yeah.
We all live in a simulation.
Yeah.
And one of us is Super Special Man, who has a prophecy that he's going to save all of us from the machines that are using us as batteries.
Yeah. They're like, that was so concise. There's nothing else to this,
Yeah.
That's all there is. That's what this whole story is. I completely agree. I'll add on that this is the true story of when Elrond was escorting the ring to Mordor the first time.
That raises more questions than it answers.
I was really stoked to see, what's his name? We were just talking about
Hugo Weaving?
Hugo Weaving in this movie. I think he's such a good actor, which we'll talk about here in a second. But no, I can't top that summary. So I can only make jokes. That was a really good one. 10 out of 10.
It was
both
simple.
enjoyment and technical.
So you are chomping at the bit to talk about Hugo Weaving, so let's talk about his...
Oh, he was just... Okay, so I love Hugo Weaving's characterization and everything. After that we watched the movie, we figured out he was V for Vendetta, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time, especially for V. He was Megatron. I loved how Megatron was characterized, even though the movies weren't that great. I loved his characterization in this. I loved Elrond. He's just a good he's a good character actor. If you have a character that you want, he does it well. And this one, you get kind of Joker vibes as well. I know that the Joker that I am now referring to was way after him, so he probably took inspiration from Hugo Weaving. But just the way that he keeps his mouth taut and the energy he pours into the performance, I just love him. He's so good. He is one of my standouts.
So you mentioned V for Vendetta. That would be a great example of one of the movies that I think took from the legacy that The Matrix left behind and did better with it.
I would agree. Absolutely agree.
So, yeah, sorry, it was just a great example.
No, I completely agree with you too.
So here's the thing.
What's that one other bullet curving movie?
Wanted?
Yeah, it's Wanted. That didn't do it very well. No. I think that did it worse than The Matrix.
I'm not saying The Matrix was easy to make.
No.
Not by a long shot.
You don't know how to do a cartwheel.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. So Hugo Weaving resides in a strange space for me.
Yeah.
On one hand, I can't think of a whole lot of movies where I've seen him and been like, he was bad in that. On the other hand, I feel like he doesn't have the widest range, which is one thing that I do really love in a great actor.
Absolutely. Who's that one that you really, really love?
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, he's my favorite actor of all time.
Absolutely.
He's just a madman.
Yeah, he's so good.
But yeah, I think that's one thing where I don't see a whole lot of range from Hugo Weaving. Totally. And that's not a bad thing. He tends to stick to these kind of roles. We were talking about you either, with a Hugo Weaving character, you're going to get some mixture of sinister and serious, and the character just depends on whether they're, more serious or more sinister.
Yes, exactly.
So
and he does it really well.
Yeah.
I think he executes those two feelings perfectly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like putting Johnny Depp in anything, you know? Like he doesn't have an exceptionally great range either, but I
Yeah.
love watching him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's impressed me in some things. So, but he wasn't in this movie.
He wasn't. Neither was Gary Oldman, but I brought him up for you.
That's true. Thank you. So standout scenes, I have to bring up the lobby scene. I honestly think that that's possibly it's like top 5. The lobby scene where they're having the fight in the lobby and they don't say a single word from the time they enter the lobby till they go into the elevator.
So good. Absolutely. I didn't think about it as a lobby, which it is. It's a lobby for sure. But like I didn't think of it as one.
And I think a lot of it is just the attention to detail when it comes to like just the way they set up the environment so that everything is just being destroyed around them.
And the amount of destruction afterwards, like they spared no expense there. That was really, 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 really cool.
At some point, I will make you watch The Raid, and it's basically just the lobby scene for an hour and a half. It's awesome.
That's so spooky. I feel like I'd get tired after that amount of the lobby scene. Whew.
But yeah, it's an experience for sure.
I'm excited for it.
But yeah, I think that one's
very good standout scene.
And I don't think that you can talk about the Matrix without bringing up the way it basically invented bullet time.
Oh, I love how they do bullet time.
Yeah.
Like I know the sound waves don't look like that, but that's what I think of anytime I think of a bullet breaking the sound barrier. You know? Like I personally think they did that so well.
Yeah.
And it's so pretty to watch.
Yeah, and it's one thing where like the art direction supersedes the visual execution of a CG thing for me. And I think a lot of it is just the fact that like it just looks right.
It just
like
looks
even
right.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Very, very, very well done.
I was thinking about this and why the second 2 movies did not do as well.
Either one.
You're not missing out on that.
That's what I've heard.
But I think the reason that this one kind of holds the place that it does is because we get his entire power progression in this movie.
Yeah, like he can't go higher.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. He has complete control over the physical world.
Yeah.
While he's in the Matrix, and like, yeah, there are more things that you can do with that for sure. They made 2 more movies,
but like,
like it is just to the point where it's like you don't really have.
Without going Super Saiyan, you can't really do very much more. You know,
right.
Like there's nowhere else to power ramp.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I brought that up in the standout scenes or performances, but that's
It's a good. It was a weakness in the world building if they wanted to make any sequels.
Right.
Like, this was a good standalone movie.
Yeah.
Like you get the feeling of, what's going to happen in the future without necessarily needing to see it fulfilled, and it does really well.
And I wonder how much of that is what knocks this movie down for me as well, is just knowing that there are 2 more that are not as good makes the ending feel like it necessitates more. You know, like he says he's going to free everybody's mind. That's a lot of work. Like that's not
nowadays. That's what 8 billion people, but back then it was only like 5.
That's not few.
It's like half.
It's still not few.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh. Okay. If you're ready to talk about themes, I have some themes that I want to talk about.
Let's go talk about themes, but I also want to go talk about my beautiful squids.
Okay, talk about the beautiful squids now.
They're so pretty. I loved the design of them, and I love how they move around, and I like their like very jolty movements because they're like weird sentinel robots. I love how all of the robot things that were here were slightly stilted.
Yeah.
Like they were not organic. And you could tell based on how they moved that they were not normal, even though they were all like trapezing, sure, around traipsing. There it is,
Traipsing.
around as something organic. Almost all of them were.
Yeah.
You have the weird beetle thing that goes and tries to kill Neo.
Yeah.
And the squids and the people that are just programs. So I thought that was really, really cool.
So the squids, actually, the reason they bother me is because they move too fluidly in certain parts. Like, you watch their tentacles and stuff as they move, and it's like, it's too fluid, and then, like, it feels like it doesn't fit with the rigidity of a lot of their movements.
I do feel like with how the hovercraft is built and how like the environment is, I feel like whenever they breach the hull that there should be an evacuation of air, because this feels like a space movie for a little bit, and that
that does always throw me off a little bit.
I'm always like, wait, why are you still breathing? Your hull is breached.
Actually, I know you say that, but what comes to mind for me is always water. I always think that water should start pouring in. And
they're in a sewer. Like, that was what, like, if you go and connect some more of the dots, you can see there's not water.
Yeah.
You can see there's not space, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, but the setting for the real world was just a weird place.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't think that was done as well as could be. But I love how fluid the squids are.
That's fair.
Personally, I think that I just imagine all of their tentacles having an infinite number of sensors, and they're like, I do this to intimidate and kill you. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's fine.
Yeah. One thing that did strike me this time watching was when they scan the ship, and I go, do you not have a single thermal sensor in any of those 10 sensors that you just held out directly at them?
And there are ways that, like, if there's hot things in the center, you can have the outside coated in something that is cool and you can't see inside.
Yeah.
Which totally get. Like, you see that in a lot of other stealth technology. But I don't know that had that.
I just wish they would have addressed it. That's all.
I completely agree.
And
that's something along
that's
the
a
lines.
world building thing for me where I'm like,
they shut down the reactor.
Yeah.
They shut down everything else that was hot, but the reactor was still going to be warm.
Right,
and all of the people are warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, it's not essential.
Global warming.
For the...
That's what it was. The entire world was actually that temperature.
Oh, okay.
And so whenever they looked at it, they were like, nah, that's normal.
They specifically said that the people are near the center where
it's warmest.
It's still warm.
Yeah, that was silly too.
Also, how close to the center of the Earth do you have to get before it's...
It's, especially in 200 years, not very close. You know, like, go down a few kilometers, you're fine.
You're sweating a couple kilometers down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the core. That's a good point. I'm sad that you brought that up. It almost makes me retroactively reduce technical.
No, it's not worth that, because again, it's not.
For me, it is.
I feel like this is primarily a sci-fi action movie, and you're not supposed to be dissecting. It's not hard sci-fi, right?
It's not hard sci-fi.
It's not The Martian where you go, hey, some of that stuff doesn't work.
Exactly.
And you're completely justified in doing it because...
Such a good movie. Is that on here?
It was at one point. I don't know if it still is. It might be.
Check, because that was such a good movie. I like that movie a lot.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, let's go themes.
Themes. Okay. So there are quite a few, and I don't want to take the
obvious one yet.
The obvious one
keep
first.
It at the end.
I find the most interesting scene by far to be the scene where the Smith agent is talking to Morpheus.
Oh, I had forgotten. Like, as a kid, you don't care about that, and I don't think I've seen this movie probably for like 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
And so, like, I had forgotten that's even there. And just like, sorry, keep going. I want to hear this.
And honestly, I think it's really interesting to hear the difference in dialogue in, say, 1999 to now, where it is far more common to hear basically that humans are a parasite on the planet and that they just eat up everything everywhere they go, when in reality that's not how it works. But I do find that fascinating as, like, just the oversimplified, like, evil point of view in this, and that basically humans are useless and life-sucking.
The evil motivations in this were, I feel, simple without being like naive. I feel like they were elegantly done. Like you have one guy that's like, I hate living in the real world. I remember what it was like to not know any of this, so I want to go back to that.
Yeah.
And you have a computer program that's like, I have enough consciousness to know that I could not be here right now. And I really like that. They kind of switch, actually. That's just very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. But weirdly, they're aligned in goal.
Yeah.
In that. Very strange. So yeah, that's just one thing that I wanted to.
I love that.
To talk about.
It was a really, really good scene. I thought he did. Again, Hugo Weaving. I loved Hugo Weaving in that scene.
Yeah, and I think I don't think we would have gotten the sense of his character without that scene.
Completely.
Like we do see some of the like he has a decent amount of screen time.
Absolutely.
So like we still like see him being intimidating and that kind of thing, but you really feel like the sinister heart of the villain there.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving on to the more obvious themes.
Yeah.
Surrounding choice and understanding reality, and like there's a lot to unpack here.
Yes.
And I think I don't know where to start with this.
Yeah, and purpose, like
yeah.
There's also like, and I'm not entirely sure what they're trying to get at in this one, because I know that there's a lot of like Christianity themes through the other two as well. But you have Morpheus at the very beginning, like, hey, we're all born to be prisoners and be slaves, and like in Christianity, that's a big thing. And then the one being like the Christ parallel. It's such a strange. I don't know entirely why it's here.
Yeah.
Like, was the producer like, I don't.
I mean, I would say a lot of it comes from the sort of hero's journey archetype, with having the messianic figure both or either figuratively or literally die, which of course Neo does
die
in this one.
Interesting.
And then he's reborn.
I forgot that.
So like,
it's not 3 days, man.
Try 3 seconds.
Try 3 seconds.
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it was just sort of storytelling, not tradition, standard. Yeah. I don't know the word I'm looking for.
Totally. Like it's I feel like tradition is actually not a bad word for it. Like,
yeah.
This is how we go and write this particular story arc.
Yeah.
So that's what we did here. It does feel slightly more heavy-handed than this. Like,
yeah.
All of them fit the archetypes really, really well. They have the Oracle, like, yeah, it just all of it fits very strangely. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and I really do enjoy the whole there is no spoon thing, like the kind of introspection thing, and trying to go and make it fit with your real life is an interesting thing to try and do.
I would say that would be something that would be antithetical to some of the Christian themes.
Completely agree.
With the idea of, there is no actual world around you.
Yes. All of it is moldable by you.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a strangely Descartesian
paradigm.
No. Extraction, I guess. It's like extracting a single piece of Descartes and just being like, this is now my entire like way that I view things.
Yeah.
Just very, very interesting. I am completely.
Oh, he was John the Baptist. Moriarty. No, Morpheus.
Morpheus.
It's not Morbin time. Morpheus is John the Baptist.
I feel like if you take too many of these characters and try to assign them into roles surrounding Jesus, it gets super
A little weird.
Yeah,
but the
super weird.
Sadducees go and capture him. So then Jesus comes and saves him, which is weird, but anyway.
I mean, the easy one is the Judas parallel.
Yeah, the
Cypher.
Judas parallel is very, very prevalent there as well.
But yeah, I still don't. I don't think they went that deep with it.
They probably didn't. But I can find it if it's there in my brain.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I feel like we haven't scratched the surface of a lot of the themes though. Like, because I think the red pill versus the blue pill. What I think a lot of people miss about this is the majority of us would probably take the red pill, not because we wanted to wake up from the Matrix. It's because at that point, Cypher's kind of right. Like, no one told him about what it actually was.
And if given the opportunity between additional information to sate our curiosity and
no information
at all,
yeah,
a very large portion, I think I completely agree with you, of the population would choose the red pill, and then be like, this sucks.
Yeah. I think if
there'd be more ciphers.
I think if they really knew what was going on, it would probably balance out a little bit.
Yeah.
With
Absolutely.
more people taking the blue pill, but
like here's the outcome of everyone with the red pill.
Yeah, I think given the exact information, like, I just got a bug taken out of my stomach. There are shady people after me, and I don't understand. Yes, tell me more, because I don't want to go back to not knowing anything.
This is real spooky, and there's a lot of people in on it, obviously.
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah, completely agree.
So, that being said, I think
also the central city is Zion.
Yeah, that's
right. Sorry.
Yeah. They also have a lot brought up as to like what is real and
very much. How do you define reality? And is they kind of go between like real doesn't matter because you can't really tell. It's us trying to figure out what the truth is, which can still be manipulated. So that's an interesting place to go in.
Yeah, I mean, I think real, if I had to answer what is real, it's what's there, right? I would argue that regardless of whether or not I'm sensing something that is false, if you're not actually here in front of me, I'm sorry, but you're not real.
Yeah.
I can only tell based on my own perceptions, but
exactly.
But that being said, it doesn't change the fact if you're not there and I think you are, I'm just delusional.
But so I think a lot of me wants to agree with you.
Yeah.
But again, like how can you prove that it's not there?
Well, it's not about whether you can prove it or not. Reality is
you
real.
Don't know reality.
Yeah. The
delusional person can't tell what reality is.
Right.
Like, it may not actually even be reality, the world that they woke up to.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't know because what's real is what they can perceive.
No, because what's real is not what they can perceive. What's real is what is actually around them. So regardless of whether or not they can perceive it, they might think that that's reality, but it doesn't make it the case. Right? Like, if I woke up tomorrow and I don't know, everything in my apartment is made out of fur.
Yeah.
Right? That's the way I'm perceiving it. If no one came in the middle of the night and glued fur onto everything in my apartment, then it's not real. Right? Like, it's not that I change reality based on what I perceive.
Except for, like, okay, so what was real in the Matrix for you?
I would say the actual world where they're in the
little hover ship. spaceship that should
the
be underwater.
hovercraft that
Exactly. That
I always think of it as a submarine.
I always think of it as a spaceship, so I completely feel you. Okay, but why is that real?
It's real because that's what's actually going on.
And how can you tell?
Well, it's not how you can tell. It's not about how you can tell. It's explicitly stated in the movie. You know how.
By who?
By people that
other people that could have also been going and stating that the other one was real. Just because you changed from one like less plausible reality to one more plausible reality doesn't mean that that's the real plausible reality.
Well, no, but okay. Given movie logic.
Yes. Okay. So if we're going to go argue movie logic, you're completely correct. Like, they told us what was real and they told us what wasn't real. Like, totally get it. And we should probably go, and otherwise I could keep you here for a long time. But it's an interesting thought.
You are wonderful at playing devil's advocate. I've been in those conversations
yes,
with
I know.
you.
It's so fun. And like, because the thing that gets my brain is that the simulated world was the real world simulated on computer chips, you know? Computer chips are based off of physics.
Yeah.
The only reason we think physics is real is because we don't have proof that it isn't. You know? Like
that's true of everything.
Absolutely. For sure. But like that makes reality a little hard to be sure about.
Well, yeah. And that's why perception is a very, very incomplete way of determining what is real and what is not.
And the most consistent.
It is also the most consistent.
Whatever you perceive is what is real for you. At all times. Because something can update, and you perceive it, and now it's real. Anyway.
I don't like that argument.
I really want to have a bloopers section that was just us. Not tonight, because you got to get home. But, yes. Oh, it's good times. Good times.
So, yeah. I mean, I feel like there were more themes that were good to touch on, but
yeah, I feel like the reality one is a really big one. Fate is also touched on a lot.
Yeah. And I really don't know where I stand or where I think the movie stands on it.
I don't think the movie knows where the movie stands on it. You know, like it's obvious that Neo like is more powerful than everyone else, and there was an oracle that said so.
Said he wasn't, but it was just to.
But it was a lie.
Yeah. What I find most interesting about it is that Neo is the one that is most explicitly saying fate does not factor into this at all.
Nope.
And everyone around him is like, yes, it is all based on fate.
It's all based on fate. Like,
and the movie seems to say that it's based on fate, but at no point is Neo ever like, it is fate. It's
based on fate.
Yeah.
But also all of the fate feels like it comes from one source, and that is the Oracle.
Cypher? Oh.
What?
Well,
that's a hot take. I did not expect that one.
Well, I mean, he puts into action all of the machine plans that get...
That is true.
Morpheus.
Cypher is the hand of fate. Completely agree. But it was all set in motion by the frickin' Oracle. All of them that believe in some sort of fate have some kind of root belief in whatever the Oracle told them.
Theoretically. All the ones that we know talk to the Oracle, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But no one else has that much faith.
Yeah.
You know, Cypher doesn't have that much faith. The other two humans, like, kind of eventually believe at the end, except for the one that's dead.
Switch, Mouse, APOC, and...
Sorry, I was going to go Tank and his brother.
Tank and Dozer.
Dozer.
Yeah.
So neither of them really like have that much faith, it feels like, until Tank at the end, where he's like, oh wow, this person's doing something, which he's also never experienced because he's never been in the Matrix.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm very torn on what the movie
thinks about it.
Thinks about fate.
Agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
But very interesting that they decided to play with it anyway.
Yes.
And
I thought so too.
They do still have one of the best like future seeing paradoxes that they just bring up once and then never talk about again.
Exactly. Would you have broken the vase if I hadn't told you to already? Yes, exactly. Completely agree. And also, I feel like I feel like they probably go closer to Fate is What You Make of It, based on the there is no spoon section. Whereas like reality isn't necessarily reality. Whenever you're changing reality, you're changing yourself, and that is affecting your reality.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
That's my hot take.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spoon Kid definitely should have been the one, though.
Spoon Kid should have been the one, or at least the Oracle. You know, like
Keanu Reeves' character, I guess Neo, just goes through the entire movie asking questions the whole time, being generally confused.
Yes.
Spoon Kid is just like, I've got answers, but I'm not going to tell you all of them.
Exactly. He has everything figured out. There is nothing spooking this kid. Yeah, completely agree.
So, technical things that stand out. We already talked about some
a lot of them. Yeah. Some of the CG is a little off, but again, I like all of the set design, all of the practical effects.
Yeah, they did a really good job of making the city feel kind of gross.
Yeah.
Just anytime they're inside the Matrix, and I know some of that was the green tint, but some of it was also just, you're right, the set design. And
like, I feel like a lot of that was probably shot in cities. Like, you just,
yeah,
but most cities are gross.
But I mean, like, I don't know, like, they found gross places. Like, the office, despite seeming perfectly clean, still felt gross.
Yes, I completely agree with that. They did a really good job with that.
Yeah, so I think that was really cool.
What was the CD he gave? What kind of broker is he?
No clue.
Okay.
It's probably some sort of
trance music that's really good for being high. Like,
sure, yeah,
good house music.
Neo's just sitting in his basement creating illegal beats.
Yeah, yes, but like,
these beats are too good.
These beats are too sick, too fire.
No, I'm sure it was something like Torrent used before.
Oh, interesting. $2,000. For some reason, I feel like it's $2,000. Oh yeah, because he says it.
Yeah,
he says it's $2,000 for a torrented something or other. Oh, maybe viruses. Maybe that guy's a virus broker.
I have no clue.
Just duplicates viruses. Which could be true because he's a hacker.
Yeah.
So is Trinity, but you only get to know that for about 3 seconds.
Yep. She's a
Trinity.
really good hacker.
She's a really good hacker.
Yeah.
Also Trinity, though. Another religious comic.
Yeah. Again, I feel like it was mostly just to give it some extra depth. And I think that's part of the other reason that this movie has worn down on me.
Yeah.
Is because I'm like, I feel like it was trying to be a lot deeper than it actually ended up being. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed some of the depth that was there, but it was...
Back to Inception, I feel like they did deeper substantially better.
Oh, yeah. And I think, the fact that I had to watch this one total of twice to know everything that's going on, and I had to watch Inception like 5 times.
I need to watch it again. It was so good this last time.
Yeah, so yeah, I think this one it did not have the depth that it thought it had.
Yeah, completely agree with you.
But still a great movie.
Great movie. Fantastic. And again, choreography, going back to that real quick.
Oh yeah.
All of the choreography was good. Even
Absolutely.
Whenever they were like adding in some CG choreography for the faster hands and everything, and everything was really well done, and the whole like, look, Neo can dodge bullets, but not good enough yet. Like, gives you a hint of okay, he might be something cool.
Yeah,
but he still got shot.
He's getting there. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that they did really well is Neo very easily could have been turned into a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the end of the world or anything. There are some great characters that I think are Mary Sues.
Completely.
But I would say, like, Neo specifically was positioned really well to become one, and they did a really good job of being like, no, he's still imperfect. Like, he, falls on his face and in the jump program, and he gets shot several times.
Like 8 or something. Like, it's so many times.
I'd say he loses about half the battles that he's in.
Pretty easily. Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, technically, just very, very well done.
So well done.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Um,
And I like the world building, but like you said, the story was a little straightforward.
yeah, and again, it's not a big deal. I mean, you can do
I think that
straightforward story very, very well.
yeah, the fact that it was straightforward made it so you could focus more on the world building and on the choreography.
Yeah. All right. Next week we are watching The Godfather, not The Godfather.
No, not again.
We're watching Goodfellas.
Nice. Okay.
Different gangster movie.
Was it inspired by The Godfather?
No. I feel like it's impossible to say that any gangster movie made after The Godfather was not inspired by The Godfather a little bit, though.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
You know, it's kind of like whenever you hear about stand-up comedians talk about Richard Pryor, right? Like,
I think I even know him.
Oh, very famous comedian, completely changed the landscape of stand-up comedy. So, like,
is the really depressed guy?
No. I mean, yes. His comedy was not known for being depressing.
Nice.
Put it that way.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So, yeah, Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. I'm excited for it.
You haven't seen it?
No, there was one time, it was Mickey Blue Eyes. I already mentioned this movie once.
Oh, yeah.
But during one of them, he's going and making some sort of reminder for himself. It's like you have to go and rent Godfathers 1, 2, 3 and Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I think also 1, 2, and 3. Because I think
there's only one. There's
Goodfellas.
only Goodfellas.
Nice, good to know.
So yeah, this one's going to be very different from anything we've seen so far.
Interesting.
So
I'm excited for that part.
And I think if I'm going to keep piling things onto the Matrix, I think that's part of the other issue for me. Is I'm like, we've watched so many heroes' journeys.
Yeah, but that's because
in the top
really
20,
well accepted.
Yeah,
you know, like it sells well. Yeah, it's not original, and you can't really do very many new things with it. But that's what people like to watch.
I like it, but I don't like it for every movie.
No, I would agree with you. For sure.
And yeah, let me tell you, Goodfellas is going to be way different, and it's going to be fun.
Stoked.
So
very excited.
All right. How do we end this?